Gard with Story Creations. Today, the dogs and I are presenting our Irish Tales of Luck. We hope you have a good time and maybe get lucky yourself. Let me introduce my companions. First, I have the fabulous, talented Joey. Next up, we have the adorable, oh, she's cute, Kira. Yes, Kira's mama's little lucky charm. And now, get ready for your Irish Tales of Luck. Have you ever wondered how border collies such as Joey and Kira became so smart? How did they get to be so intelligent? Perhaps it was because of a fairy's wish. Across the 7 seas and years ago, giants roamed the land of Ireland. Fairies liked to dance, and leprechauns hid their gold. But there were also humans and sheep, and of course to guard their sheep, they had border collies. One day, it was a nice spring day, Joey took the sheep out to the pasture. He went around and around and around. He was looking for coyotes and wolves, but the sun was shining and Joey fell asleep. But what he didn't know was that while he was asleep, a giant peered into the valley, and the giant said, "I take what I want, I eat what I want," and then he let out a horrific burp. Joey was still passed out. In fact, the giant's burp made everything pass out. Why, the grass wilted, the flowers hung their heads, and the sheep, they fell asleep. The giant tucked a sheep under his arm and stomped back to his cave. Now, there was a fairy watching over this. Now a fairy had been watching the giant steal the sheep. She knew that Joey's master would blame her. The fairy whispered into the air. Her voice sparkled like sunshine. She said, "Wake, Joey, wake! A giant stole your sheep." Joey woke and sniffed the air. He smelled stinky fish. Oh, the fairy spoke again. Her words glowed pink and purple. "Hurry, Joey, a giant stole your sheep." Joey heard what the fairy said, and all fear collected in his heart, and he threw himself down and played dead. The fairy made her voice glow like gold as she said, "Joey, I'll grant you a wish if you rescue your sheep. Be brave, find the courage in your heart, and I'll make it worth your while." Joey took the fairy's advice. He gathered his courage to his heart, and then he followed the stench of the giant. Giants smell a lot like rotted fish. He sniffed the wind and twirled about, and then he took off a running, and a jumping, and a jumping, and a running. Bum ba bum 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 until he reached the giant's cave. Ooh, he began to sneak inside of it by getting down and crawling and crawling and crawling. Joey was ready to battle the giant, but the giant saw him, and the giant said, "I take what I want, I eat what I want," and then he let out a horrific burp. Oh no, Joey fainted dead away. The was leaning down to grab him when Joey felt a bumblebee tickling his ear. Perhaps it was a fairy. She had transformed herself. He got up, and then he got back down, and he rolled away. He got over here, and he got down, and he rolled again, and he rolled again. But poor Joey, the giant was huge, and the giant roared. Rah! And Joey wasn't feeling so confident anymore. If anything, Joey was ashamed of himself. He threw himself back down. He was so afraid. And with his tail between his legs, Joey began to run for home, for he didn't know what he could do. He ran, and he raced, and he raced, and he ran. But as he was running back home, Joey remembered something. You see, Joey's human had just gotten another border collie puppy, a cute little lass named Kira. And Joey decided he could have Kira battle the giant while he rescued the sheep. Yes, he thought it was a wonderful plan. After all, Kira had been stealing all of his favorite toys. It served her right if the giant ate her. And so with that, when he got back to the farm, he looked for Kira, and he found her. Joey found Kira. She was a wee bit excited. When she heard that she'd get to battle a giant, why, she gave a high five. They shook together. Then she began to dance, 'cause that's what little ones do. So they twirled together. And then they took off running and jumping across the meadows to find the giant's cave. Why, little Kira, she was as fast and quick as Joey, jumping. Ooh. She went this way, there you go. And Joey's turn, and Kira's turn, and Joey's turn, and Kira's turn, and Joey's turn, and Kira's turn, and Joey's turn, and until they reached the giant's cave. Now, once they were in the cave, oh, little Kira, she saw the sheepy. Joey saw the sheep too, all tied up and looking so sad. Kira wanted the sheep, but she knew her job was to battle the giant, while Joey rescued the sheep. So with that, they gave again a high five, and they went to work. Kira, she charged ahead. She saw the giant. Rah! But Kira thought that meant to dance with him. So she jumped up. She even sat pretty. Then she came forward and backed up and forward. And forward. And they were barking and growling at each other. But Kira was having fun. She got down and she rolled over and she rolled over. Oh, Kira was having herself a good time. She twirled this way. She spun this way. She walked it forward and back. She even played a little bit of peekaboo, peekaboo, boo! Oh, good job. Peekaboo, peekaboo, boo! Aye, Kira, she was having herself a good time. She even did a little puppy bow to get the giant to play more with her. The giant, he took out a tunnel. This got her real excited. She wanted to jump through it before it was even set up. She was so ready. She went in the tunnel and out and in and out, and out and in and out and out and in, and one more time, and do it again. But after a while, she got a little bit tired. And so with that, Kira, she threw herself down and played dead. giant grabbed her and he said, "Ha ha ha ha! You're mine now, little one. Ho 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 ho! You're mine." And he led her deeper into the cave and he put her in a puppy cage where she was a-crying. Joey found the little sheepy. He chewed through the ropes. He gave the sheep a high five and he told the sheep to run home. And so the sheep said, "Baa, baa," and Joey gave it another push. In fact, he smacked it. And then the sheep ran out of the cave and headed for home. And that was when Joey heard the giant say, "I take what I want. I eat what I want. Burp." And Joey fainted. But then he got up. Joey remembered Kira. She might be in trouble. He looked around for her. He looked around and around, but he couldn't find her, no. And that's when he realized the giant had her trapped in a cage. Joey was going to have to battle the giant. Now, Joey had seen Kira dancing with him, and so he thought that if the giant liked to dance, well, then Joey could show him his moves. And so with that, Joey began to weave through the giant's hairy legs, back and forth and forth and back. Oh, and they were doing a little dance. Though Joey did it this way, and he did it that way, and he was having fun, and so was the giant. Why then, they did some, figure eights around and around. Why, good little boy. Joey got down, and Joey did. Rolling it over and rolling it over. Then Joey and the giant began a tango forward and back and forward, forward and back, back and forward and back and forward and back. Joey even twirled and twirled, and the giant went like this. Then Joey saw where Kira was being hidden in the corner of the cave. Joey got down where the giant was twirling. He got down. He crawled over there until he reached Kira to let her out. Kira was free, and now they could both battle the giant together. The giant was still a-twirling. Joey and Kira, she jumped up. Joey jumped up, and they pushed the giant into, his bonfire. The giant went, boom, and he sat down. His great big giant tush put out the flames, and then his pants began to smolder, and the giant said, "Ooh, me pants are on fire!" The giant ran out of the cave, with Kira chasing him, and Joey laughing. The giant went all the way to the edge of the cliff, and there he jumped into the Irish Sea, where he sank like a stone to the bottom to put out his hot pants. Kira and Joey, they were so happy they gave each other a high five. It was at that moment the cave began to shake. So, a glittering purple tunnel appeared, and the puppies dove into it. For Joey remembered that the fairy had promised him a wish. A wonderful wish. And Joey wanted that wish. For he knew that a fairy's wish was more valuable than gold. Kira just liked the tunnel, going through it. When they reached the fairies' cavern, why, the little doggies danced and danced, and then the fairy appeared. The fairy said, "Good job, Joey." He gave her a high five. "I knew you could do it. And little Kira, I give you a kiss. Now, let me ask you, what do you wish for? And you may each have a wish." Kira was so excited she began to bounce around and jump. She even did a little sit pretty. For Kira wanted a toy of her own. She didn't want to always have to have Joey's. The fairy said, "Oh, Kira, I have the perfect gift for you." "Now, what about you?" Joey gave the fairy another high five. Then he thought about it. At first, he thought maybe he'd want a bone. Come over here, Kira. Or maybe he'd want something else. A toy like Kira. But then Joey decided what he wanted more than anything in the world was to be intelligent. Joey wanted to be the smartest breed of dog in all the world. He wanted to be smarter than anyone else. And not only that, he wanted his wish for all border collies, Kira included. "That's a wonderful wish, and I grant it to you gladly. You'll be the smartest dog in the world. Yes, and you will be smart too. And not only that, you two, but your puppies and your puppies' puppies will be smart as well. Mwah! Mwah! My tale is done. My dogs are smart. The giant's at the bottom of the Irish Sea, still cooling off his pants. The fairy, she's a-laughing. And that is the end. We hope you enjoyed our show today and that you had some luck. Be sure to follow us on our YouTube page under Denise Gard, and that's spelled G-A-R-D. You can also go to our website at storycreations.org to discover more of our fun shows and live shows that may be in your area. Right now, the dogs are willing to say bye-bye. Kira, are you ready? And they both wave. Oh, there's Joey. He's got a good wave. What about you, Kira, my lass? Oh, she did it too. But you know, because she's a girl, she also likes to take a puppy bow. What an excellent puppy bow. Have a great rest of your day. And hey, happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Do you want your lammy? Oh, you do? There she's playing with her lammy. Is that what the fairy gave you? Did the fairy give you a lammy? A lammy to protect and play with?